are going to study occurrence of metals in metals and non-metals chapter of science class 10. So metal occurs in two different forms, that is in the form of minerals and in the form of ores. So we are going to study about what are minerals. Actually, minerals are metals which occurs in the natural form in the earth crust, maybe in the earth crust in the sea water, or maybe along with some other soils, or maybe with some other things. So like salt solution in the sea water, it contains sodium chloride. So sodium is a metal. It contains sea water contains magnesium chloride. Here magnesium is a metal. So this all soluble form of salt contains metal in the sea water in a very small amount. Sodium contains in a very small amount. Magnesium contains in a very small amount. So these naturally occurring metals in the earth crust are known as minerals. So now we are going to study about ores. Ores is nothing but ores are substances from which metals can be extracted very profitably and conveniently. In a very large amount, if you can extract in a very large amount and in a very easy way, if you can extract metals, then that is called as ores. So now we are going to study about the different types of ores. So the first is oxide ores, the second one is halide ores, the third one is carbonate ores, and the fourth one is sulfide ores. Now I'll give you some example of oxide ores. You see that when oxygen is combined with any of the metal, that is called as oxide ores. For example, magnesium oxide, zinc oxide, lead oxide, okay, all these are oxide ores. That means when any metal combines with oxygen and when they remain as an ore, that is called as oxide ores. Halide meaning is halogen. It comes from the word halogen. Halogen is fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. If any of the metal remains combined with the halogen group, then that is halide ores. For example, magnesium chloride, say sodium chloride, or maybe sodium iodide, or maybe zinc chloride, or so many others are there. It may be bromide also. So since it combines with the halogen group, so that is called as halide ores. Now carbonate ores is if any of the metal combines with carbonate, calcium carbonate, zinc carbonate, all these are called what? Carbonate ores. And if any metal combines with sulfur, then that is called as sulfide ores. So it may be galena. This zinc sulfide is also called as galena. It may be lead sulfide. It may be any of the metal. If it combines with sulfur, then it is called as sulfide ores. So I repeat you again: type of ores: oxide ores, halide ores, carbonate ores, and sulfide ores. Now all these ores can be extracted in a different methods. We are going to study now the different methods by which the metals are going to be extracted from its ores. So in extraction of ores, according to your textbook, potassium, sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminum, all these are very reactive metals, and these reactive metals can be extracted only by the method of electrolysis. The method of electrolysis involves cathode and anode for extraction, that is by using electric current. All these metals can be extracted from its ores. But the least reactive metal like zinc, iron, lead, copper, all these cannot be extracted by electrolysis method. But all these metals can be extracted by a method called carbon reduction process. As because they are least reactive metal, they can be only extracted by carbon reduction process. But you know, before using all these methods, electrolysis, carbon reduction process, before using all this method, there are several steps are there which we need to follow for the extraction of ores. Now the steps of extraction of ores, we are going to discuss it. Here two metals are there that are found in nature. They need not need to be extracted by electrolysis also, they need not need to be extracted by carbon reduction process. They occur naturally in the earth crust, therefore they are found in nature. They do not need any involvement of any of this method. So now we are going to discuss the steps of extraction of ores. So in extraction of ores, some steps are involved. Number one step is concentration of ores. In the concentration of ores, we use three different processes. One is washing. In washing again, you can use another process called flotation process. Here also another process is there. I'll write out it in a little bit different way here. This is another process is there. Flotation process. Then the third one is magnetic separation, and the fourth one is leaching process or chemical separation. So here washing involves for all those ores which contains mud as the impurities. Washing, concentration of ores by washing involves with all those ores which contains mud as is its impurities. Second, flotation process is for those ores which contains sulfide as its impurities. Then magnetic separation, concentration of ores by magnetic separation includes for all those metals which have magnetic properties such as iron, tin and all. So this is another process. Leaching process or chemical separation is for all those metals like aluminum which cannot be extracted by any other process but only by chemical separation. So for all those metals, leaching process is involved. After concentration of ores, the second process involved is calcination and roasting. The concentrated ores have to be heated and calcined and roasted. So the second process, and the third process is reduction of ores. So this is the point that which we discussed previously, reduction of ores. Reduction can be done either by your carbon reduction process or by electrolytic reduction. Little while ago we have discussed already about the different type of ores. We have discussed about halide ores, we have discussed about carbonate ores, we have discussed about oxide ores. Now here we are going to study about all these things. So the concentrated ores, that means we may be concentrating carbonate ores, we may be concentrating halide ores, we may be concentrating oxide ores, whatever we are concentrating. Now we have to calcine it. So the concentrated carbonate ores, that is calcination. For the process of calcination, you will have to take carbonate ores. So the concentrated carbonate ores is heated in a limited supply of oxygen and converts to oxide ores. Here zinc carbonate, this is the carbonate ores. You heat it and you will get zinc oxide, and carbonate will be converted into carbon dioxide. So here zinc carbonate gets converted to zinc oxide. Now roasting is a process where ores are heated in abundant supply of oxygen and converts them to oxide ores. Here also it is converted to oxide ores. Here also it converts to oxide ores. The only difference is that here in a limited supply of oxygen and here abundant supply of oxygen. Roasting, abundant supply of oxygen. Calcination, limited supply of oxygen. So roasting here, the concentrated halide ores. So the concentrated halide ores are heated abundantly in an abundant supply of oxygen and converts to oxide ores. So question may come, distinguish between calcination and roasting. So we can find out many points here. So calcination is limited supply of oxygen. Roasting is with the abundant supply of oxygen. Calcination is for carbonate ores and roasting is for halide ores. But remember that the similarities is that both of them get converted to oxide ores. So here zinc sulfide, this is sulfide ores. When you supply abundant oxygen, it gets converted to zinc oxide and sulfur dioxide. So these are the points which I want you to remember. One point is distinguish and one is similarities. In distinguish, here in calcination, limited supply of oxygen, and in roasting, abundant supply of oxygen. In calcination, it is done for carbonate ores getting converted to oxide ores, and in roasting, sulfide ores getting converted to oxide ores.
Stay home, stay safe, do it for yourself.